Hey, what's up everybody? Ramey here, otherwise known as Dr. Ray, and today what I'm doing is I'm telling you about the best fantasy book written in 2023. Actually, this is my project, my book that I published just yesterday, and I want to talk about it. I want to talk about the book, why I wrote it, the process, all that went into it, and just give you guys a little, let you know about it. The first thing I should tell you, so the book is called The Level 7 Spell. I'm going to put the link down below this video. The book is 100% free to download on Kindle until Saturday. So I encourage you to go ahead and download the free copy because as of Saturday, I mean, if you're in Kindle Unlimited, it's always going to be free. It goes to only $2.99. That's what I'm selling it for on Kindle, and paperback is $9.99. But it's free on Kindle right now, so go grab it. Just go grab it. All right, the genre of the book is middle grade fantasy. That's a similar genre. That's the genre of Harry Potter books, Percy Jackson books, Golden Compass, those kind of books. That's the genre of the book. Same genre, same age range. Those books were written for. So my book is similar to those in that they're the same genre. The book is 280 pages in length, about like 77,000 words. So that's kind of the length of the book. If you want to read about the book, I'm going to put the link. You can click and get like the synopsis, like quick blurb about the book, what it's about. But essentially the book, I'll give you the quick 2-second version of it. The book is about a kid, and the kid finds out that his mom is not from planet Earth after some weird things happen to him. And she actually sends him to another world. And in this other world, instead of technology, I'm using the computer 24/7 and stuff like that, everything is magic. But there's some weird things going on in this world. Only a very small percentage of the people in this world can use magic. They're called mages. And the people who can't use magic is 90% of the population. And eventually what happens is that this kid, he wants to go home. He wants to get back to Earth to find his parents. And the only way for him to do that is to try to become a mage. But it's extremely difficult to become one. Only 10% of the world's population can become them. So all the kids, when they reach a certain age, about when they start to turn into young adults, like puberty age, they can compete to become a mage. And so this book is about him going through that process and trying to become a mage. If he doesn't, he's probably not going to survive. So there you go. That's the book. I highly encourage you to read it. As I said, it's free. Go download it. It is free right now to download. Okay, so let's talk about this project, why I did it, my inspiration, stuff like that. So I've been wanting to write a fiction book for a really long time. It's always been a thing that I thought would be super cool to do. And I've been writing some whenever I came up with a cool idea for a story, I would jot it down. I got tons of Google Docs where I have just notes of ideas that I have all the time. Notes for videos, notes of stuff. But I came up with this idea, and then last Christmas, Christmas of 2021, I said, I'm writing a book this new year. That's what I'm doing. So January, boom, January 1st, I start. I started to build a world. I started to build what this book could be about. I came up with a paragraph. I decided that the main character of my book would have the same name as my middle child and look like my middle child. Now, my middle child is 10 and the kid in the book is 11 and 12. But I wanted it to be based on him, at least the look of the character and the name, because I liked my son's name, River, and I thought that would be a cool name. And, I kind of like that he's very artistic and thought he would think it was very cool, whereas I didn't think my other two kids would think it was that cool. So that's where I got the name from. Named the main character River. From there, I created an outline, a little story of an outline, just chicken scratch, notes. From there, and we're talking about from months at a time, I slowly started to hash out a story. I started to write, and I'd get 10,000 words written total, and then I'd go in and start to fill in dialogue and write chapters. It took me about, I'd say, 8 months to come up with like a first draft. My first draft was absolutely terrible. And I mean like pretty terrible. So let's say like last October, like a year ago. What I did at that point, I had a solid draft. I hadn't even put it through Grammarly yet or anything. What I did is I thought my next step is to get a few people to actually read this to tell me like where, because I had the story written out. I didn't have, it wasn't like descriptive yet or anything like that. It was really just the story written. I had a few people, I had 3 people, or actually 4 people read it at the time. And I said, 4 people who like the genre. And I said to them, what do you like about this story? What do you not like? And where are like the holes in the story? They went through and read it. 3 of the 4 people really didn't have many comments for me story-wise. And then one of the people actually had some great feedback for me. So one of the 4 gave me some like really solid, like good feedback on the story. I could tell they like really thought about it a lot. First of all, they loved the story. They were like, this is a cool story. I'd want to read the next 2 books. Like I'd like to do like read, like you have a cool world setup, cool background, cool story. Here are some things you can fix. Fixed all those. And once I fixed all those, we're probably at now January of this year. So 1 year. So it took me basically 1 year to write the outline, write the story, get some beta readers, start fixing their feedback. I'm at January of 2023. So January 2023, I set out with this goal. I was like, by the end of my semester, which is like the beginning of May, I was like, I'm gonna have this book written. So basically what I do is I start making their corrections. And then what I do is I decide I need to go through and I need to make the book now more descriptive because I hadn't done that yet. It was more like one thing that you try to do when you write a book is like, let's make it more show than tell. Mine was more tell at that point. I just hadn't tried to write the description yet. It's like I didn't focus on the little details. I wanted the story. So I went through and I basically rewrote every single line of the book to make the sentences sound better, to make sure there were no errors with commas and stuff. So what I did to help me with that is I used Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid to go through each chapter. So Grammarly, if you're not familiar, Grammarly is kind of like Microsoft Word on steroids, like spell check and grammar check. It'll tell you where to do commas, tell you where like certain words should not be placed at a time. It'll help like restructure sentences. Like this sentence would rewrite for clarity is what it's called. And it'll like cut out a word or add a word or something like that. Then I took it in Pro Writing Aid. Pro Writing Aid is it's similar to Grammarly, but a little different. It's very good to find things Grammarly doesn't. Like, am I using a word too much? Like, it'll search through a chapter and say, oh yeah, you're using like the word whatever too many times. So it goes through and looks for little things like that. Too many adverbs. These sentences are too complex. You need to rewrite them. And one really cool thing that it does is it'll rephrase sentences for you. So like, let's say I wrote a sentence and I'm like, this sentence just doesn't sound right. If I just need like a descriptive word and I can look up like synonyms and stuff like that in the thesaurus, but I can push rephrase in Pro Writing Aid and it'll give me like 10 different ways to write my sentence a little differently. So that helped me a lot to give me like a lot of ideas for like making my sentences sound good. So that really helped significantly. So I used those 2 tools to basically rewrite. I really rewrote the whole entire book. I mean, I didn't rewrite it, but like I changed a lot. I also added a ton to the book at that point. It was up to 100,000 words, which is way too long for a middle grade book. So what I did at that point is I decided, okay, this book is 103,000 words. It's got to be the biggest like middle grade fantasy books are like 80,000. I was like, I got to cut a ton, like 25% from this book. Can I do it? Because I had like added in some new chapters and like just a lot. And it was becoming like a beast. Like I could have added another 100,000 words probably at that point. I was like in this writing mode where I could just keep writing, like, and adding more to the story. Like I was like, oh, this detail and this detail and this detail. One of the things I get really annoyed at is with good books is sometimes they don't explain things. So I was like over explaining everything. So I had it written. It was actually, the book was grammatic. I put it through Grammarly, through Pro Writing Aid. I was like, it's grammatically correct. I mean, as best as those software can help you, you know. It's written. I've got the story. I've got everything. I've crossed my T's, dotted my I's, except I need to cut 25%. So what did I do? I've read through this book like about 150 times. I went through and I gave it a big, solid read through. And this read through was a cut. And I cut it down to about like 79,000 words at that point. 79,000 words. I cut 20,000 words out. I don't think I cut out any chapters. I just cut out pieces of chapters that were like too descriptive. I did actually in the beginning like cut some big chunks out of chapters and mesh it with like another chapter. But like story was the same. And I think the story was better. Like I never edited like that. Like I've never edited my own work. And I learned so much about writing. So much about writing. And I've edited and written so many academic papers and academic books. Like I've written for the last 20 years, I've been writing, but just a different kind of writing. So this was a whole new challenge. So I learned so much about editing. And I just thought, you know, I was at this point, it was now like 79,000 words. And I said to myself, what's the next step? Like, what do you do? So like I have a book, like I got this manuscript, like what do I do? So I had a few people read it at that point. They gave me some feedback, not a lot, but some little things to change. A lot of like, hey, grammatic things to think about. So I went through and made those changes. I didn't use like Chat GPT or anything like that for this. I can tell you a funny story about using Chat GPT for editing. So what I was going to do is I thought like maybe Chat GPT can like be my editor. So I put like my first chapter through Chat GPT and said like, are there mistakes and stuff like that? All that I can say is while Chat GPT is great for like helping you write emails, it is the worst piece of software for writing a book. The writing is terrible. Like if I like put a paragraph in and I was like, how can I make this sound better? The samples it would give me would be terrible. The mistakes sometimes, so I would put just an example. I'll put a paragraph through ChatGPT and I'll say, oh, where are the grammar mistakes? And it'll say there are none. And then I'll put the same paragraph through and I'll say, where are the grammar mistakes? And it'll say, here are 3 and we fixed them for you. But what's weird is that there might not even be mistakes. It like made up mistakes for me, like was faking it. Really weird. I was like, this piece of software cannot be used for writing at all. Like one thing for an email or like something like that, not for writing a book. So like I didn't touch that kind of thing for this. I wish it could have helped. I tried to play around with some AI tools out there. They just weren't good. You know, I wrote this in Google Docs. I put it into Word. I had to break up each chapter because it was too long of a file. Checked each chapter in Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid. That was kind of my process. Okay, so I get to this point. I've made more changes. I went through. We're at like 78,000 words. This is probably like August time frame. And I say, okay, I'm like ready to think about if I'm going to self-publish this, if I'm going to have a publisher publish this, like what are you supposed to do and how do you do all this? I had to think about like a book cover and all that kind of stuff. And I went through and I looked at all the authors I've read in like the last 5 years. And I said, how did they do it? How did they get their book big? How did they publish their book? And every single one was self-published, and I was like on Amazon. And I was like, okay, so that's so I was like, I want to do that, but how do I do that? And one of the big things that like I read is if you self-publish your book, you still need to go through the process that a publishing company would. Because if I just go and publish it, like there's going to be like a bunch of grammar mistakes and stuff like that. Because every time I'd read through, I'd find like 100, which when you're talking about 78,000 words, that's not a lot, but like I'd still find them. So I said, okay. I hired a company to design the cover for me. And then I hired an editor. And the editor that I hired was a proofreader to go through and look for like grammar and stuff like that, and also look for if there's any like big story things. So I paid an editor to go through. So all this stuff was happening at the same time. The map. So I have a map in the beginning of the book. I was gonna like make a map in Photoshop, but what I found is that there are all these cool like map developers out there that you can buy. So I bought a piece of software that makes maps, and it's just like Photoshop, but it's like designed like Photoshop for maps. So I created a map that I was able to use commercially and put it in the book. I designed the whole world, like I designed a map and stuff. So that was pretty cool, like a fun process. I'd never done that before. Um, I got the book cover from the company. So it's funny, for my book cover, I'm not even going to show you the picture that I drew. But basically what I did for the company is I drew a picture of what I wanted it to kind of look like. And I said, make a cover similar to this. They did an awesome job, actually excellent job. I had a few small changes for them, but they did a really good job. Then I got my feedback from my editor, made all the changes the editor gave me. My book was down to like 77,000 some words at that point. And I said, okay, I got like all the pieces. I've got a cover, I've got the editor, and I'm like ready to do this. I went through and I read it one more time just to kind of make sure that like, I just wanted to be sure that like, because every time you go through and make all these changes, because I made the editor had a bunch of changes, like word changes, comma changes, little things, lots of little things. Actually, it was all little stuff. But you're like, does it sound right? So I wanted to go back and just give it like a final read through, and I still made changes. Like every chapter, I made something, I changed something. I'm not talking like big changes at this point. I'm talking about like add a word here. Maybe I need another comma here, or do I not? Like a lot of it's like questioning like, should I include the comma or not? Like little things like that, which honestly to me don't change a story and I don't care about, but some people do. And I wanted it to be good. Every book in the world, there's going to be punctuation errors somewhere. So I'm sure there's still errors in my book, but there shouldn't be a lot. There should be like a small number and stuff like that. So, okay, so I read it through again. I was like, okay, I'm ready. I figured out how to do it, what I was going to do. I got all the stuff together, and voila, it's up on Amazon. I had to use another piece of software to actually like format it and stuff like that. So I used a bunch of pieces of software to write this book. Google Docs, Word, Grammarly, Pro Writing Aid, Map Designer, formatter for the book for Kindle and for publishing. And then I had a company design a cover. Like this was like a big process. So it's published. I've told people, I've shared the link. It is free, as I said, free to download. So let me get to the end of this, which are what are my lessons learned and what are my next steps. So as you realize, like I haven't been doing as much video and everything because I've been working on this book. People ask where did I find the time to write it? I found the time to write it because I really stopped playing video games. I have hardly played any games in the last year and a half, which is a big bummer. But because I don't have a lot of time in the day, I have 3 little kids, and I only have so much time to do stuff. It's like you have to give up one thing to do another kind of thing. And I really wanted to get this done. I really wanted to work on it, so I kind of stopped playing games. And my wife was like, "Oh, well, see what you can do when you don't play video games." And I was like, well, that's not true because my book is so heavily inspired by so much that I've learned from video games and movies and comic books and all the things I've loved as a kid and still do that like it wouldn't exist without that. So like, it's not that simple of a statement. But so what are my lessons learned? My lessons learned, first of all, are that writing a book is a big pain and time suck, and it's going to be a really hard, tough experience the first time you do it. That's all. It's like painful. It was painful. Like I hated this book a lot of times as I was writing it. Like I was like, I hate this. Like telling my wife, like, I hate this. Like, why did I try to do this? Like, this is terrible. Not that the book was bad, but like I hated it. Like it was like a friend you just all of a sudden like don't like. Like I hated it. was just really hard, and I made a lot of mistakes, and like I wasn't sure like how to do things, and I was like just looking it up and like just figuring it out on the go, and like it was hard. Um, if someone wants to do it, I would 100% tell you to go ahead and do it. Just before you start, like go on the internet and look up like writing a book, like 101. Like, I mean, or do what I did and just start writing it and then do all that stuff once you're done and figure out, oh, wow, I messed up all this stuff. So yeah, like lots of cool stuff came from it. I'm glad I did it. Like I wrote it and now my kids can read it and that's super cool. Um, what's next for me? So I've been deciding like what's next. So first of all, this book is part one of a three-part series. I have outlined the rest of the series. I've not started writing it because I thought of another book I wanted to write. This is a single standalone book, really fun story. So I'm working on second book. I'm 3 chapters in and I'm writing a second book. But it's not set part 2 to this. I'll actually work on that one after this. I'll work on this again and get part 2 and 3 of this. I'm actually going to probably try to do part 2 and 3 of this book at the same time and do both, publish both of them at the same time. But I'll have another book out in between there. So I created a new website for like my book and art and publishing, all my stuff like outside of school. Even though this can like count as a publication for school, it's still like not academic. So it was fun. It's exciting. As a reader or someone that watches my channel or anything, like please go ahead and download it and give me a good, I want to tell people to give me good reviews. I'm not going to say just give me a review or a bad review. Give me a good review. I need reviews. Go on Amazon, give me a good review. But please, like, go ahead and download it. It's free until Saturday, or buy it, like get the paperback, or if you're Kindle Unlimited, it's just free all the time, or it's $2.99. And why did I like pick those prices? So I picked those prices, and I'll tell you like about like if I make money from it and stuff like that. So at $9.99 paperback, I will make $1 for each copy sold. At $2.99 Kindle, I will make $1 for each copy sold. That's it. I just said I want to make $1 for each copy sold. So those are the prices. So you can see that like Amazon gets most of the money. That's just the way it is. It's not like I picked like $9.99 and I'm making like $5. Like that's not what it is at all, actually. Making $1 off the book. And in fact, it might only be like 97 cents or something like that. Like it's like not a lot of money. And then the Kindle, for some reason, you make a lot more money. I guess because it's like electronic, so it's easy for them. I don't make anything Kindle Unlimited, but I wanted people to be able to read this book. I love sharing. I give away my instructional design book for free. That kind of thing. Like I wanted people to have it. Like I'd much rather see like I had to pick or choose. Like I'd rather more people read it than not. Like I'm all about accessibility and getting people to do stuff. So that's why like those are the prices. And it's free until Saturday. So Amazon allows you to like give away Kindle books. Every like 4 to 6 months, they let you run like a free 5-day promotion. So I'm running mine right when I open the book up. So it is free right now. So go ahead, download it on Kindle. It is free right now. As I said, the link is in here in the description. So go ahead, do it. Let me know what you think. Comment on the video, but really go in and give me a review on Amazon. And enjoy reading. Later, everybody.